So here's going to be my review of Daredevil Born Again. I watched this new MCU Disney Plus series, which just debuted in early March, and ended its 9-episode weekly release a few days ago. For me personally, this series was just a magical event in the making. To see a continuation of those Netflix-produced Marvel shows into a Disney-produced MCU product. Specifically in this case talking about Daredevil, who had 3 seasons of his own show, most of which were excellent, including appearing in the Defender series. And 7 years after the sensational Daredevil Season 3, it was a dream come true to see the series continue with Daredevil Born Again, which featured the original cast returning in their roles. In this series, Matt Murdock reemerges as Daredevil to stop the corruption of the newly elected Mayor Wilson Fisk. This show is mostly all about the eternal link between these two, showing that no matter how much the other tries to move on from their previous lives, as long as both are in the same city, they're destined for a collision course based on their previous history. That previous history comes in the form of 3 seasons of Netflix's Daredevil. It's an interesting question as to whether or not you have to have watched the Netflix show to understand and get into this one. With the methods of storytelling through most of this show, the previous history of Matt Murdock tends not to matter in the standalone episodes, like the trial of White Tiger, stopping a bank heist, or him taking on the serial killer Muse. But the show definitely has its times where knowledge of the series' previous history is imperative to having an impact on what you're watching, specifically with the final 2 episodes and how this show initially starts. After the opening scene of this show, if you hadn't seen the Netflix show, you'd probably be thinking, well, that sucks, but I don't really give a shit. But as a big fan of that Netflix show, I experienced a wide range of emotions in that show's first 15 minutes. From happy to excited to holy shit, I did not see that coming. That's my long-winded way of saying that there are long segments of this show where the original series doesn't matter, but watching that Netflix show will certainly heighten your perspective with certain dialogue and character interactions. Plus, it was a great show, so why the hell wouldn't you want to watch it? I do want to avoid turning this review into how it compares to the Netflix series, but it's hard not to at certain points when that connection is why there was so much interest in this series' continuation. Born Again has a grander feel to the way it looks and is directed. It's an appropriate natural progression for a full MCU Disney-produced Daredevil series, compared to the Netflix series, which had a grittier, smaller scale feel to it. The characters from the original series we see the most here are naturally Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, with the returning actors Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio back for the roles. What's cool about the characters' appearance here is how there's a bit of a difference in the portrayals because of how time has passed. Most of the time, Matt is just Matt with no Daredevil persona, and Cox plays it in a more charismatic kind of way, a la his She-Hulk appearance, until the devil emerges from him. By the time you get to season 3 of the Netflix show, Matt is more of just an emotionless psychopath. Fisk's main character difference is how he's feeling like he's struggling to accommodate a public persona, where he's got to play by the rules as the mayor, but you can just tell he's itching to let that ruthless kingpin side out of him. Matt and Fisk descend into their true selves as the true parallelism storytelling happening episode to episode. One of the best scenes of the entire series is their initial conversation they have in the diner. You can just feel that history and the combination of both hate and respect they have for one another.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
Now, in the Netflix show, Fisk didn't discover Daredevil's identity as Matt Murdock until the end of season 3. And I wondered how they could pull off a whole series with Matt's arch enemy knowing this knowledge. While it certainly limits some of the stuff and kind of interactions the characters can have, but it definitely ups the stakes, as Matt realizes he has a lot to lose anytime he puts the devil suit on. But with how the story plays out, I feel like it was massively important not just to have Vanessa back, Fisk's wife, but more importantly to have the actress return as well, Ayet Zoyer. In the original version of this show before the reshoots and rewrites, some of the cast, including her, were not going to come back. But with Vanessa specifically, this would have been really unfortunate, as the actress returning allows us to see the full progression of the somewhat innocent woman from season 1 to a woman fully entrenched in the criminal underworld and not afraid to get her hands dirty. Now, the only way I can properly talk about this show is explaining my feelings episode to episode, but I'm gonna avoid spelling out any black and white story spoilers. Now, with how episode 1 starts, I immediately had the feeling of, oh hell yeah, we are back. Seeing the trio of Nelson, Murdoch, and Paige together, in the awesome action sequence paying off the final scene of Daredevil Season 3, honestly, it's as if I had died and gone to vigilante heaven. Until we got to the ending of this sequence that had me thinking, holy shit, I did not see that coming. It made me realize that for better and for worse, I shouldn't expect a copy and pasted version of the original Netflix show with a Disney Plus coat of paint. Now the show leans into the subtitle of Born Again, which the only way to do that is have an extended amount of time without Matt as Daredevil. I don't exactly love this concept for any type of superhero story, where there's an extended amount of time without seeing the hero we came to see. See The Dark Knight Rises for an example. For me, only really Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 was able to fully pull off this kind of story. There's about a 4 to 5 episode stretch without Matt in vigilante mode, and I wouldn't have minded that if there was a story that felt like there was some real momentum, and a majority of the episodes didn't feel so one-off-ish. Part of the dilemma is that it's a week-by-week release, unlike the Netflix shows which were all released at once, but those shows were much more committed to their main overarching story, episode to episode. The middle of this show felt like the original version of this show, intended to be separate from the Netflix shows, and it honestly felt like a meandering, inconsequential story. It wasn't until the final few episodes where the show truly embraces the core anti-vigilante story, and also the tie-ins to the Netflix series. It's not a coincidence that this coincides with Matt and Fisk embracing their true nature. As things progress, Fisk becomes more and more of that epic character that we saw through the best moments of the Netflix series, and he somehow has a kill that tops his iconic door kill in Season 1. In the grand scheme, we don't get to see Matt in his new Daredevil suit that much, but it looks fantastic and looks all the more epic in the action scenes. Due to the nature of the story, full-on classic fist-to-face Daredevil action sequences aren't in abundance here. There's more than a few episodes with zero action. The two standout action sequences, though, amongst the few, were the one that featured Daredevil's rematch against Bullseye, but the creme de la creme of the entire show was Daredevil and Punisher teamed up against their incoming foes. Holy shit, that was some epic action. That confirmed that Disney isn't afraid to hold back on action when it comes to the Punisher. The most gruesome moment, though, comes from a kill courtesy of Kingpin. He pulled some Art the Clown Terrifier shit on someone towards the end of the season, and the aftermath and look on the surrounding characters' faces says it all. It was next level of whoa, they just did that. After the first episode, a lot of this show just felt like it was stalling till we got to the good stuff in the final 3, arguably 4 episodes. The stuff with the trial of White Tiger or the Bankai shenanigans were okay, but it wasn't exactly what I came to see. I will say that outside the obvious opening 15 minutes, the resolution to the White Tiger trial is actually the emotional highlight of the whole series, and effective in how the actual actor passed away. Rest in peace and thank you to his contributions to this series. Things, though, for this show took a turn for the better once it got to the serial killer Muse, who had a horrifying gimmick of painting with human blood. It was an eye-poppingly gruesome character. But it's the final 2 episodes that felt like the real continuation of both the story, characters, and primarily the quality of the Netflix series. I didn't mind the new characters that we got to see in Matt's life, but with how the story plays out here, it's unthinkable that they're originally going to try to do this story that ignored the main supporting characters like Bullseye, Punisher, or Karen Page. But regardless of what this show was going to originally do, or rather not do, those final 2 episodes are amazing and really felt like I was back at home seeing this story truly continue. I think the actual ending of this season, though, was weird. Weird. Not because there wasn't a clear resolution, but because there was just a clear absence of any kind of climax, which isn't what you want in any kind of story. But I can let it slide a little bit, only because we know for sure we're getting a season 2. There was a lot of wonderful things in Daredevil Born Again, I think it was honestly a life-saving decision to include the elements of this show that tied into the Netflix series. The storytelling felt a little off though until we got to the final few episodes. Maybe that's a result of these episodes coming out in a week-by-week release format compared to the all-at-once approach of the Netflix series. To me, the show was fine, at times really good, but definitely weaker when it was going with the kind of soft reboot approach to the story, but then became amazing once it was a true continuation of that Netflix story. I can't quite put the show overall as excellent, at least not initially, but I will say for now, I liked it a lot.
I like it.
Season 2 is poised for a true battle for control of New York City, and I can't wait, thankfully coming out next year. The next step for them is fully embracing the other shows in the Defender saga. It was great to include the Punisher, but with how the story is playing out here, with the focus on vigilantes, they can't ignore those other guys forever. Just saying. So that'll do it for this review of Daredevil Born Again. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.